Death to America.
In this dangerous war involving
The Strait of Hormuz actively shut down by the conflict.
As well as escort tankers through the strait if needed.
Not an atomic bomb. In this war, Iran's biggest weapon is the Strait of Hormuz. This is Iran's location in the world, and very close to Iran there is a small sea passage. It may look like a tiny place, but in reality it is not an ordinary route. In fact, this small passage has become one of the most important points for the global economy today. It is a major international shipping route for oil and gas. Around this narrow waterway are countries that produce the largest amount of oil in the world. Nearly 20% of the world's oil supply is transported through this route. Countries like Kuwait, which has the 5th largest oil reserves in the world, as well as Iraq, Bahrain, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia, are located around this region. Saudi Arabia even owns the largest energy company in the world. Because of this oil, these countries are among the richest nations in the world today. After oil is produced in these countries, it crosses this small sea passage and reaches the rest of the world. This allows these countries to earn enormous amounts of money, and it is this oil that keeps the global economy running. Every day, more than 20 million barrels of oil pass through this route. That means trillions of dollars of business move through this passage every year. In other words, this route is extremely important for the global economy. However, there is a major issue with this route. In the middle of the passage there is a very narrow point where every ship must pass. The entire passage is only about 40 kilometers wide, and for the last 40 years the effective control of this route has been in the hands of Iran's supreme leader. This is the same route through which the fuel that reaches your car or motorcycle travels. Because of this route, buses, trains, and even ships operate around the world. Iran has always been fully aware of this fact. That is why even before the war began, Iran repeatedly warned the United States. Iran issued a warning that if the US attacked Iran, it would close the Strait of Hormuz, which would deliver a huge shock to the global economy. But the United States did not stop because of Iran's warnings. Instead, the US and Israel together launched a powerful attack on Iran. As the war began, 200 Israeli fighter jets rapidly moved toward Iran and reportedly killed Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. After losing its supreme leader, Iran began responding to the US and Israel. Missiles were fired at several Israeli cities, and Iran also began attacking American military bases. When Iran lost its supreme leader, it decided to use the biggest weapon in its history, something it had never done before. Suddenly, the radios of large ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz began broadcasting a message. The message was from Iran's navy. The Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced that from that day onward not a single ship would be allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, and if any vessel attempted to cross the passage, it would be destroyed by Iranian forces. After this announcement, many large ships left the area. Numerous vessels are now stuck behind the Strait of Hormuz, carrying millions of barrels of oil. Because of this, several countries are slowly running out of oil and gas, and the global economy is rapidly declining. Major economies such as India, China, and Japan are also being affected. India is reportedly suffering the most from the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. In Pakistan, fuel supplies are gradually decreasing and the government has increased petrol and diesel prices. Similar conditions exist in Bangladesh. The same situation is happening in Africa. In Nigeria, petrol prices have been increased at least 3 times. Even in Europe, fuel and gas prices are rising rapidly. Since the beginning of this conflict, gas prices have risen by about 50% and oil prices by about 27%. The days of this conflict have already cost European taxpayers around €3 billion. This means that Iran, with only a few naval actions, has effectively put the global economy under pressure. It is also said that Iran has placed large naval mines under the Strait of Hormuz. If any ship tries to pass without Iran's permission, these mines could destroy it. Some ships that attempted to pass have reportedly been attacked. After blocking these ships, Iran also presented an offer to the world. Iran stated that any country wishing to pass through the Strait of Hormuz must do one small thing: expel the American and Israeli ambassadors from their country. However, This is not the first time a Muslim leader has used oil as a weapon. About 50 years ago, another Muslim leader did something similar. That leader was King Faisal of Saudi Arabia. During a time when the United States and Israel were fighting against Muslim nations, King Faisal cut off oil supplies, shaking the global economy and forcing world leaders to bow before him. And now, 50 years later, Iran has similarly shaken the global economy by blocking the Strait of Hormuz. However, instead of celebrating, we should carefully observe the global situation. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz is already damaging the world economy. There are only two major possible outcomes from here. The first outcome is that Iran continues to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed for a long period. This could weaken the global economy so much that major countries put pressure on US President Donald Trump to end the war. The second outcome is far more dangerous. Even before the war, Iran had warned that it would close the Strait of Hormuz if attacked. Yet the United States attacked anyway. Some analysts believe that the United States may actually want Iran to close the strait. Because something similar happened about 50 years ago. At that time, Iran was under the leadership of Ayatollah Khomeini, whom the United States disliked. So the US supported another Muslim leader to attack Iran. That leader was Saddam Hussein. A war began between Saddam Hussein and Khomeini. Initially, it seemed Saddam would easily defeat Iran with American support, but as the war continued, Saddam's situation worsened. Eventually, Saddam asked the United States to directly join the war and attack Iran with full force. But the US often needs a justification before attacking another country. So Saddam and the US planned that Saddam would attack Iranian ships in the Strait of Hormuz. This would provoke Iran to close the strait, damage the global economy, and give the US a reason to attack Iran. Saddam carried out attacks on Iranian ships, but Ayatollah Khomeini did not fall into the trap and did not close the Strait of Hormuz. Because of this strategy, the United States could not attack Iran at that time. However, 2 years later the United States found another excuse and attacked Iran again. Looking at today's situation, some people believe the US may once again want Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz so that the global economy suffers and the world eventually turns against Iran. Then Donald Trump could appear like a hero, launch a massive attack on Iran, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and present it to the world as a gift. Trump himself has said that if Iran does not reopen the strait, he will launch a major attack on Iran. Meanwhile, Iran's newly appointed supreme leader has declared in his first speech that the war will not end until the blood of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and the martyrs is avenged. He said Iran will avenge the blood of its leaders and that the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed. Iran will never surrender.